Greetings from Grand Avenue. As I'm getting ready for a small group discussion of today's devotion in the upper room, I'm spending time here in the church kitchen at the dishwasher. Today's devotion is all about hearing and responding to God's call in our lives, and a very significant portion of my call story is bound up with some work that I was doing at Lakeshore Methodist Assembly. I wasn't preaching or praying or playing keyboard in a praise band, but I was serving meals to hungry campers and scraping their dirty dishes. Sometimes God calls us in the most inconspicuous places to do the most inauspicious and inconvenient kinds of things. Which makes me wonder, where were you when you first heard God's call in your life? What has God called you to do most recently? I encourage you to read today's devotion. There's a link to it in the comments and description attached to this video. There, Terry Whalen of Colorado describes Isaiah's call. In fact, he says in today's reading, God tells the prophet Isaiah to remove his clothes and his sandals and walk around naked for 3 years. It was a drastic and visual message to Israel of the shame that they would experience if they didn't listen to God's direction. Isaiah listened to God and took action. And then Terry goes on to describe his own experience. It's not quite as dramatic as Isaiah's is, but that reminds me of another part of God's call in my life. When I'm driving down the road and I come up with an idea for a mission or ministry, if it makes perfect sense, usually it's something that I thought of. But if it is out of this world crazy, if it doesn't seem to be rational at all, usually it's not something that I created, but something that God has called me to do. And I always listen in those moments. I wonder what God is calling you to do, what kind of crazy notions the Holy Spirit is stirring up in you. I hope that you will take a moment to read today's devotion and then respond with comments of your own. May God bless us as we grow in mission and ministry, as we hear and heed God's call in our life.